Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to this week's Midweek 180. Well, the votes are in and the new format is here to stay. The last two episodes of Midweek 180, I've not had a timer, and the overwhelming feedback from you lot is you prefer it without the timer, and this new magazine format where I can drop other things in and maybe have a little bit more time is something that you appreciate and enjoy. And also, it looks like the algorithm does too, because I've had good views for the last couple of weeks. There is lots and lots of stuff to discuss this week. Very special stuff and something I'm very, very proud of. But before we get to that bit, let's do the normal housekeeping. So leader of the pack last week was MG Marison. Well done, mate. Joined in the Magnificent Seven by Francois G, Rod Matheson, Michael Kember, Stephen Spink, Leanne Jackson and Paul Mead. So whoever puts the first comment this week, you'll be my leader of the pack next week, and the first 7 comments will be in my Magnificent Seven. Where are you and what you're doing? Well, that was Andrew Gibbs, who always comments, but he was in hospital in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Birmingham, awaiting neck surgery on Friday, and was hoping that he would be recovered in time to watch this week's Midweek 180. Andrew, I hope you're doing well, my friend. All of us peddlers wish you a very speedy recovery and hope all is well. But wherever you are right now, and whatever you're doing, put it in the comments below, and I'll give you a shout out next week. Now, last week's question was pet peeves while you're driving. Oh my days, did we have a few of those? They included tailgating. People who basically just don't drive to the right speed limit, either stay at 40 irrespective or don't go up to the national 60. Lane hogging, middle lane hogging, people driving with their fog lights on when there's no fog. There were some brilliant ones. So thank you very much for all of your responses. This week's question is a very simple poll. Are you an Apple user or an Android user? The reason I ask is because I often comment about a car having Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I'd just like to know what the mix is. The global mix, by the way, globally I think Android have something like 80% plus market share. So I'm expecting more Android than Apple, but it will be very interesting. Bit of my nerdy telecoms background coming out there. Formula One. Now, if you saw the race at the weekend, the only thing I need to talk about, we'll forget who won it because it was a little bit dull at the front end, but in the mid-pack, Ollie Bearman became the youngest ever British Grand Prix driver, the youngest ever Ferrari Grand Prix driver, and it was just an unbelievable weekend for him to be called up. Carlos Sainz going in with appendicitis and having to have an appendectomy on the Friday. He basically got in, he had one free practice session, having set his car on pole position for the GP2 race, but one free practice session, went in, qualified 11th, which was stellar because he only just missed quali 3, and then ended up P7. Absolutely spectacular. And the bit I just find so impressive is the Formula One car laps at 8 seconds a lap faster than his GP2 car. So how he got up to speed so quickly, and I know he's a professional racing driver, but I just thought he had that one opportunity, and I'm so pleased for him that it went so well. Absolutely incredible, and I will be gobsmacked if he's not in one of the 20 F1 seats next year. I really will. I think someone will snap him up. He just drove beyond his years, that's for sure. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, I'm sure many of you who've been following me for a while will know that last year I did Ironman 70.3 Marbella, and I supported the Born Free Foundation as a charity, and I asked for sponsorship. And I was massively proud and hugely grateful that we raised £7,000 for the Born Free Foundation. And it's a charity that's very close to Tracy and I's heart. Tracy has worked with Born Free as an advisor, if you like, on a number of issues for the last couple of years. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to raise some funds for them. Well, Tracy has literally landed back today, but she was invited out to South Africa to the Shamwari Game Reserve, where Born Free have two rehabilitation areas, for the release of 2 lions, that Jamil and Zar, who had been rescued from the Ukraine, and they'd had a bit of rehabilitation and a very long journey to Shamwari, and Tracy was asked to go out to the release. And then just before Jamil, the second lion, was released, they asked if she would like to actually lift the gate and release Jamil into his new enclosure. And I've got to show you this video clip because it's just amazing.
let me know when I can open the sliding gate. I think open.
I can't tell you how proud I am of Mrs. Greaves, but also the whole Born Free team. Such a special thing, and we've had so many messages because that clip's also been on Sky News, so lots of you have seen Tracy on top of the crate on Sky News. I've had messages going, I think I've just seen Tracy on top of a lion cage in South Africa. Yep, it was Tracy. So massive congrats to the whole Born Free team. I've actually taken a table at the Born Free's annual fundraising dinner next week, so it'd be great to catch up with all the team and hear more stories about that release. But for any of you that sponsored me for my Ironman, that's what you have helped support, so thank you from the bottom of my heart and from Tracy. Just absolutely incredible. Next thing briefly to talk about is I've got an exciting year this year with Nissan. Now, you may well remember I was in Nissan a couple of weeks ago in Finland. But this year, I'm going to be working with Nissan as a Formula E ambassador. Now, I went to the Formula E last year for the first time. You know, I'm a massive motorsport fan. I love my Formula One, endurance cars, touring cars, rallying, anything really. And I was never really that sure about Formula E. And then I went along to a race. And I just found it fascinating. There's so much to Formula E that doesn't really get covered in the TV coverage. So the plan is that I will be working with Nissan to try and help people understand a little bit more about Formula E. Maybe I'm not going to try and convert people to Formula E, but help them understand some of the inner workings, the technology, what the drivers have to do. And we're going to start off by a very special trip because I'm going to the Tokyo E-Prix in a couple of weeks' time. And that trip, yes, I'll be covering the Tokyo E-Prix, but I've always wanted to go to Japan. So my plan is I'm going to do a daily vlog basically called the Japan Diaries. I don't know if you've ever been to Japan. It's a country that's #1 on my list of countries to go. I've always wanted to go there, so I'm massively excited. But we're not just going to do Formula E, so all of the petrol heads amongst you going, Formula E's rubbish. Well, hopefully I can kind of help you understand a bit more about Formula E, but we're also going to the Nissan Heritage Collection. We're going to the Nismo factory. I'm going to get to drive some heritage cars in Yokohama. So I think I'm going to drive a Nismo GTR, an original Skyline. So there's some really cool petrol content coming your way from Japan as well. So please stay tuned to that. But the question I wanted to know is, what would you like to know about E-Prix, about Formula E? Is there anything that might, if you found out about it, it might help you understand it more? So I'm going there as a representative of you lot, really. So what is it you would like to know about Formula E? And I will do my very best. We're literally embedded with the team, and I'll be doing stuff throughout the year at a number of races, hopefully. So hopefully together we can learn more about Formula E, and I think that's going to be a really exciting process. Last couple of bits. MG have just been announced today as the Goodwood Festival of Speed central feature, which I find really, really interesting. And that's not Morris Garages, the old MG, that's the new MG, but they're looking at the whole heritage of the MG brand. I would love to know what you guys think of that, because I saw that announcement and thought, that's going to upset some people, I'm sure. But I'm really excited to see what the central feature is going to be like. The last couple of things, the weekend just gone, I had my Hyper Racer test that I mentioned last week coming to the channel very soon. It rained all day, but all I can say is driving a car that weighs less than 400 kilos, about 390 kilos, with a 200 horsepower Hayabusa bike engine and a 6-speed sequential gearbox and full downforce in the wet was a sensational experience. I've got a real challenge to put the video together. We've got some really cool angles, helmet cams and all kinds of things. So please stay tuned for that because it's coming soon. But Hyper Racer, oh my days, what a thing. And then tomorrow I'm at the Goodwood Annual Media Day, and I've got two really exciting cars I'm going to be filming with. I'm going to be filming with the McLaren 750S, both the coupe and the Spider, one on road, one on track. I've really wanted to get my hands on that car because I'm a big McLaren fan, so stay tuned for that. And I'm also going to be driving the Lotus Emira. And you might say, well, you've already driven that, Pete. I have, but I drove the V6 one. Tomorrow, I'm going to be driving the 4-cylinder one, which I think many of you are really eagerly anticipating. And then last up, Friday at 6. Last week, I've got lots of track driving recently. Last week, I was up at Bicester with Alfa Romeo, driving the new Giulia and Stelvio Quadrifoglio. And I drove both cars on road and on a small handling circuit at Bicester. And safe to say, I managed to get both of them quite sideways. It was great because we turned up, and it's the first press drives I've ever had where I turned up and there was a quick fitting van and a big stack of wheels and tyres just in case we needed some more. So it was an amazing day. So that is the Giulia and Stelvio Quadrifoglio. Anyway, there you go. Around about 10 minutes. Plenty of stuff in there. But yeah, once again, massive thank you to anyone who supported me with sponsoring me and raising funds for Born Free. Very special. And any questions, anything you'd like to know about Formula E, please put them below. That trip is as much yours as it is mine. I want to discover stuff for all of us. And I'll see you on Friday at 6 o'clock for the Alfa Romeo, Stelvio and Giulia Quadrifoglio on road and very sideways on track. You take care, guys. Drive safe.